When you think of Japanese food, what do you think of? Maybe sushi? Recently, ramen's been all the rage. Perhaps you've heard of karaage? Oh, but there's so much more. We have yakitori, kare rice, yakiniku, Sukiyaki, gyoza, Tempura, Soba, Tonkatsu, hanbaagu. And I could go on, but we have to stop somewhere. Not only am I going to introduce to you all these famous Japanese dishes, but I'll show you the different ways they're eaten, where they're eaten, tell you a bit about their history, and hopefully you can learn a little bit about Japanese culture through it all. Hello world, this is Life Where I'm From, and let's dig into some of Japan's famous foods. Okay, so let's start off with sushi. Sushi is vinegared rice, usually with some sugar and salt, plus a variety of ingredients called neta, such as vegetables, meat, or most commonly, seafood, which may be raw or cooked. In the early 1800s in Edo, which is now called Tokyo, nigiri sushi was born, which back then was essentially raw fish on top of vinegared rice. Back then, nigiri sushi was 2 or even 3 times the size of what it is today. So what in Japanese they would call Texas size. I'm kidding, but I have seen Texas king steak before. Now, talking with my wife, she said that growing up in the 80s, sushi was a special meal for her family. If I have to compare it to Canada, I'd say it sounds like it was similar to going out to a nice steakhouse for someone's birthday or an anniversary. It wasn't something you'd make yourself at home, and to this day, it still really isn't. But it's become ever more accessible. You can get it at a family restaurant, you can pick it off a rotating plate kaiten style, and you can grab a to-go pack from a grocery or convenience store. Places will even deliver sushi platters to you. And there are so many kinds of sushi. Nigiri sushi is some main item on sushi rice that is shaped into bite-sized pieces. Maki sushi is ingredients that are laid on a bed of sushi rice, which is on top of seaweed, aka nori, and is rolled up and then sliced into pieces. The seaweed is on the outside of the roll, not the inside. However, the famous inside-out roll, or uramaki, is believed to have been invented by a Japanese chef in LA or Vancouver in the 70s, depending on which story you listen to. That famous uramaki is the California roll, which surprisingly, I have found in Japan, but it's a very rare occurrence. Inari sushi is a pouch of fried tofu that contains sushi rice. Chirashi sushi is ingredients scattered over top of a bed of sushi rice. And then there's temaki sushi, which literally means hand-rolled sushi. This is the kind of sushi that you will actually find being handmade in a Japanese home. We even featured this at a party at my sister-in-law Ako's place. Sashimi, which is sliced pieces of seafood, is often confused as sushi, but in fact isn't, even though most places that you can order sushi from would also serve sashimi. Sushi is often served with wasabi, pickled ginger, and soy sauce. And what most people think of as wasabi is in reality flavored and dyed horseradish. Freshly grated real wasabi is expensive and rare, and also quite tasty on top of ice cream. And the best place to get sushi is at a specialty sushi shop, where you sit at the counter and they make sushi fresh for you right in front of your eyes. There are 3 rules that you might have heard about that I want to explain the nuances of. First, yes, you can pick up the sushi in your hand and eat it with 1 bite. Second, you're not supposed to mix the wasabi and the soy sauce. The reason is that the wasabi will melt in the soy sauce, diminishing its flavor. Plus, there's already wasabi the chef put in. If you want to add wasabi, just place it on top of the neta. Third, you're not supposed to dip the rice in the soy sauce, as the rice can fall apart as well as absorb too much sauce, ruining the delicate flavor. For using chopsticks, the chef taught Ako to tip the nigiri sideways first, then pick it up, making it easy to dip in the soy sauce. I'm glad the chef let Ako do this part, as he had me make sushi, and I was quite terrible. The last little thing I think is interesting is that it said you judge the quality of a sushi place by their tamago, their egg. If they can get that right, then you know everything else is good. Others will say that it's the rice. Yakiniku is a relatively recent dish, with restaurants only opening up after World War II. In the post-war period, beef and pork became prohibited commodities, so couldn't be sold. But restaurants could offer up the offal, so like the entrails and the internal organs, like the liver, heart, and kidney. And when grilled up in Japan, these were called horomongyaki. Later on, choice cuts like karubi and rosu, boneless short rib and lean roast, became the standard. Now, when do you eat yakiniku? I don't think it's considered an everyday item, but more something you'd make for social gatherings. It's meat and other things grilled on a barbecue. So if you compare it to the US or Canada, it's similar to how people like to have a barbecue with other people while at an outdoor event, like camping or a picnic. A difference, though, is that it's also done indoors at home, and there's even special electric grills that you can buy. I think the reason you wouldn't do this inside your home more often, because it is much more affordable than restaurants, is that it's messy. During cooking, you want to open windows and run your exhaust fan. After, you're cleaning up all the grease from your table and floors. But it's easy enough to do at home as they have the meats all sliced up and ready to go at the supermarket for you. Typically, you don't only grill meats, but veggies as well, like onions, peppers, potatoes, and cabbage, and any kind of seafood you might like. They're often dipped in a sauce called yakiniku no tare, which is literally yakiniku sauce, which is a soy-based sauce. My brother-in-law loves freshly grated garlic in his, which is tasty, but you don't want to be around him afterwards. The easiest experience is at a specialty place, and while there are electric or gas options, sumiyaki, or charcoal, is considered the best. The nice thing is that while you still need to cook the food yourself, you don't have to clean up afterwards. Although you do pay much more for the experience, with similar cuts of meats costing 2 to 3 times as much versus if you bought it at a butcher and made it at home. If you visit Japan and want to do your own yakiniku outdoors, many places will offer barbecue rentals. Often you bring the meat, but rent the set, like what we did glamping in Kochi. Ramen is said to have come from Chinese wheat noodle dishes brought to port cities in Japan, like Fukuoka and Yokohama. It was in the years after World War II that ramen started to take root, as stalls called yatai would offer these cheap and nutritious dishes to customers. As ramen developed across the country, so did regional varieties, like Tonkatsu ramen in Kyushu, shoyu or soy sauce ramen in Tokyo, shio or salt ramen in Tohoku, and miso ramen in Hokkaido. And there's my favorite, tsukemen, which is noodles dipped into the soup bowl instead of being placed in it. My wife often likes maze soba, which is a brothless ramen. It's presented to you beautifully, only to have you mix everything up into a delicious mess. Of course, there are more types of ramen, like tantan men, which originates from Chinese Szechuan cuisine, and their dandan noodles. It's one of those rare dishes in Japan that really is spicy. So depending on what part of Japan you're visiting, you can experience a plethora of ramen varieties, which used to be universally under 1,000 yen, but with inflation, I've been seeing that number creep up past it at certain places. For Americans, at the current exchange rate, that's like $7, taxes included and no tips wanted. It's a very affordable working class dish that's great for a quick get in and get out bite. The best place to eat ramen is undoubtedly at specialty shops that serve ramen and nothing else, where you'll buy a ticket at a machine and then get served as soon as the bowl is ready. But you can get ramen anywhere and in any form nowadays. Family restaurant? Check. Supasento? Check. Instant? Check. Fresh cook-at-home noodles? Check. Take-home collaboration packs from famous ramen chefs? Check. Frozen reheated noodles? Check. To-go packs from your favorite specialty restaurant? Normally no, but during COVID there was a time where we were able to do this and we were actually touched by the taste, being able to again experience a flavor we hadn't for many months. In Japanese, you would say, kando shimashita. I was moved. While ramen has traditionally been a cheap, simple dish, chefs are upping the game with fancier ingredients and a ton of creativity. During the 70s, 80s, and into the 90s, there was a boom in Japan where its popularity soared. I don't know about the rest of the world, but I've seen a similar boom in Vancouver, Canada, over the past decade, where now it seems like you can find a ramen shop on every street. And while ramen is generally a quick eat-and-go noodle dish, it's surprisingly not as fast as you would think. If you want fast, you have to go to the soba and udon shops, where you can be eating within a minute or two. This next dish is called hanbaagu, as in Hamburg, Germany, where the uber-popular American hamburger also got its name. The Japanese version is usually made from ground meat, like beef, pork, or both, mixed with onions, breadcrumbs, and egg. The most popular topping is probably a demi-glace sauce, but there are plenty of other toppings that can be put on, like daikon oroshi. Like many dishes featured, this became popular in the post-war period. Even though it was originally beef and whole cuts were expensive, ground meats like pork and chicken were not, And when fillers were added, like the onions, breadcrumbs, and eggs, it became an affordable dish you could make at home. In the 1960s, pre-cooked versions started to become popular, and they come frozen in a plastic bag that only needs to be boiled. This is a popular and profitable dish in family restaurants, and I must admit, it's one of my go-tos as it's inexpensive and one of the items where you can get a calorie count that's closer to 500 than 1000, if you don't order it with the set that comes with rice and miso soup. There are specialty hanbaagu restaurants or steak restaurants that offer hanbaagu, but my gut instinct is that only a small portion of hanbaagus made in Japan are made in these places. And I realize this is not a hanbaagu restaurant behind me. While a hanbaagu at a family restaurant will often contain a few potato wedges and perhaps some corn, green beans, and carrots, as mentioned previously, you can make it a set which adds rice and miso soup. It'll usually come on a hot plate so that the sauce can splatter over you as you eat. This is a popular dish for bentos that you can pick up at convenience and grocery stores as well. Overall, it's an inexpensive dish that, because it's bunless and rice is optional, feels healthier than its American counterpart. Tonkatsu is a breaded pork cutlet that's deep fried into deliciousness. The katsu part of tonkatsu is said to come from the English word cutlet, which comes from the French word kotoret. Cutlet, katsuretsu. Cutlet, katsuretsu. Yeah, katsu doesn't sound that similar to me, but that's most of katakana for me. The ton part means pig, so really, tonkatsu means pork cutlet. The origin story goes that it was first offered as a thin piece of breaded meat that was deep fried in a store in Ginza in 1899 and was actually called pork cutlet, or in Japanese, poku katsuretsu. But then the dish changed when, taking cues from how tempura is made, a thick piece of meat was coated in a thick batter and deep fried. It's said that in 1929, a Western-style restaurant in Ueno called Ponchiken began selling the dish with the name tonkatsu. It's typically served with shredded cabbage, rice, and miso soup, and comes with a thick Worcestershire-style sauce aptly named tonkatsu sauce. I like freshly grinding sesame seeds into the sauce and adding a bit of karaage or spicy mustard. There are so many cuts nowadays, like menchi and millefeuille, but the standard cuts are roast and filet. When you eat it at a specialty restaurant, it'll usually come with unlimited cabbage, which is said to help reduce the absorption of fat from the pork cutlet. And that cabbage is usually topped with ponzu or goma dressing, goma meaning sesame. To make tonkatsu on your own, you get a piece of pork, cover it in flour, then dip it in egg, then dip it in panko, and then fry it in oil. But since that can be messy, I think most people who eat it at home would take it out from a specialty restaurant or pick it up at a grocery store. Then at home, one would add side dishes to it. It's a standard dish offered at family restaurants and is generally reasonable in price as pork is relatively cheap in Japan. While tonkatsu may not be the prime choice for a special occasion like an anniversary, there are special times that it's eaten. In Japanese, katsu means win or victory. So before a big test or a big game, you might have a tonkatsu meal for good luck. Health-wise, it's perhaps not the best idea, especially if paired with a kittokatto, a Kit Kat, which shares a similar superstition due to its name. Being a Buddhist country, eating meat in Japan was banned until just after the start of the Meiji Restoration in 1872. However, wild birds, such as pheasants, ducks, and small birds were not banned. These birds were called yakitori, which literally means grilled birds. During the middle of the Meiji period, so the late 1800s, yakitori stalls opened up. And while chicken was expensive, they would skewer offcuts and offal, as well as pork and beef. While pork and beef are obviously not birds, the term yakitori, grilled bird, still applies to all of those skewered items as well. In the 1960s, broiler chickens, so the birds that are good for eating, not the device that cooks the birds, were introduced from the US, and yakitori really took off. Now, as mentioned, anything can be placed on a skewer and be called yakitori, like chicken, pork, and beef, but there are many versions that add non-meat items in between, like negi, asparagus, garlic, tomatoes, and cheese. The two main seasonings are salt or a soy-based sauce called tare. I don't think I've seen anyone grill yakitori in a Japanese home until we bought this little yakitori grill for a video about Japanese food technology for single people. But I've seen it brought home pre-cooked many times, either from the grocery store or from a yakitori stand or little restaurant. Like tonkatsu, they're great to pick up on your way home to use as your main protein, and then add other side dishes to it. While there are specialized yakitori restaurants, which will be the best place to enjoy yakitori, the most common place you may dine in and eat yakitori is probably at an izakaya, a Japanese pub. Yakitori is generally not a main dish kind of item, although I've certainly used it as one. It's more of a side dish or snack, and a great item to get at an izakaya, a food stall at a festival, or a yatai upon your exit from a train station. As far as pricing goes, they're not going to break the bank, but there are usually cheaper ways to fill yourself up. Curry rice, or as the Japanese call it, karaage rice, came to Japan from the English, which came to them from their colonies in the Bengal region of India. Rice was used, not naan, because that's the main staple in the region. So in Japan, if you go to an Indian or Nepalese restaurant, the default accompaniment is naan, whereas with Japanese karaage rice, it's rice, of course. The taste is also completely different from Indian curry, at least to me, who thinks that West Indian curry is the best curry. Although personally, it's a toss-up between dal puri roti and naan. And in case you couldn't tell, my parents are from the West Indies, so that's why the curry preferences. What I'm taking a long time to say is that Japanese curry is way too sweet and comes with rice, when instead it could be spicier and come with naan or roti. The standard Japanese karaage rice comes with potatoes, onions, and carrots, and can be used with pork, chicken, beef, or even seafood. But if you're in the Kansai region, beef will be the default, whereas if you're in Kanto, it's pork. It was popular as military food, since it was well balanced with high nutritional value, and I'm suspecting also cheap and easy to make. It then became a staple in school lunches, probably also for the same reasons. My wife said that curry is a really great dish to make at home, since you can put anything you want into the curry and easily put it together. People mainly only used to buy store-bought packages for their roux, but nowadays, people are getting fancier and using their own spices. So it's a go-to dish at home, because as the military and schools found out, it's cheap, easy, and nutritious. While you'll find curry in so many places, from family restaurants to konbinis, you won't generally find them as high-end dishes, unless you go to Kanaya Hotel in Nikko and spend many yen for their beef curry, which was admittedly delicious. But you will find fast food curry chains like Koko Ichiban, where you can get your quick fix. And because I'm a bit of a hater of most Japanese curry, I have noticed that Japanese like to put curry in everything. Ramen kare, Tonkatsu kare, kare udon, kare pan. What else? Oh, there's pouch kare you can buy that's shelf stable, so you only need to boil it and serve. It's great for when there's an emergency, like a natural disaster, but also in an emergency where you don't know what to make for dinner. Tempura was introduced by the Portuguese, who also brought guns, back in the 1500s. If you've seen Shogun, you know this. The origin of the word tempura comes from the Portuguese word tempura, which I have no clue how to pronounce, which refers to the times of fasting. During fasting, the Jesuits were forbidden from eating meat and instead ate fish and veggies that were battered in flour and deep fried. Nowadays, tempura is made by coating seafood or vegetables with a flour, egg, and cold water mixture, and sometimes baking soda or baking powder is added to make the batter light. Then it's deep fried in oil. Once cooked, it's then dipped in tempura sauce, which is dashi, soy sauce, and mirin. You usually add grated daikon to the sauce, and at fancier places, they might offer up a selection of salts to dip your tempura into as well. While there are specialty tempura restaurants, it's so much more common to find tempura at other places. Like if you eat at a soba or udon noodle shop, they often have tempura to go along with it. It's probably more common to eat tempura outside of the home, or bring it home as takeout, than to make it at home. That being said, my mother-in-law will often make a batch of tempura every few weeks and then send them out to her family members. And now that I think of it, she also does this with gyoza, which I'll get to, I promise. Like yakitori, tempura is not usually eaten on its own, but as an accompaniment to a dish. However, if you go to a specialty restaurant like this, it's served one piece at a time like a fancy omakase sushi experience. If you're a lover of tempura, this is the way. Soba, or more specifically buckwheat, has long been grown in Japan. It's especially known for its ability to grow in harsh terrain and be harvested 2 or even 3 times a year. It wasn't until around the Edo period in the 1600s that they started cutting them into the buckwheat noodles that you now know today. While soba nowadays generally refers to buckwheat noodles, they can be mixed with wheat flour, so you might get a mix of 80% buckwheat, 20% wheat. If it's pure buckwheat, they generally promote it as Juwari soba, or 100% buckwheat. But if you go to Okinawa and have Okinawa soba, that's 100% wheat flour. Or if you order maze soba at a ramen restaurant, this dish that originated in Nagoya will be made from wheat noodles as well. And if you order chuka soba, that's the old name meaning Chinese noodles, which are ramen noodles. A place I often visit are supasentos, or super baths. Not only do they have public bathing facilities, but they'll have a restaurant, and they usually serve soba. It's not uncommon to find a grinding wheel creating fresh buckwheat flour to make into noodles. The most basic version is cold soba that's dipped in tsuyu, made of dashi, sweetened soy sauce, and mirin. It'll have sliced negi and some wasabi, and that's it. You'll most likely be given sobayu, which is the water that's left over after cooking the soba and is chock full of minerals. You're supposed to pour it into your leftover tsuyu and drink it. I personally find it too salty, so I'll drink it straight up. Beyond zaru soba, you can dress it up as much as you like. Put it in soup, eat it with tempura, have it as a salad, or fry it up. Out of the dishes presented in this video, it's considered one of the healthier ones. The 100% buckwheat version is gluten-free and has a low GI relative to other typical carbs like udon, ramen, or white rice. I mentioned eating soba at supasentos, but a very popular way to consume it is at a tachigui soba shop, which means stand-up eating soba. They're very popular around train stations and are even sold in little shops on the platforms themselves. And by the way, even if the name has stand-up soba in it, they may also have seats available, but the shop will be designed around finding whatever spot is available and quickly eating your food and going. To me, it's one of the healthiest fast food options in Japan, especially if you can manage to avoid the tempura and get some non-fried veggies with your dish. There are many specialty soba restaurants, which, I don't want to confuse things, usually also offer udon noodles as well. Talking with a soba shop owner in Tokyo, he said that the numbers have dropped over the decades as other forms of foods have risen in popularity. When traveling around the Inaka, the rural areas of Japan, I can't really think of a region where tourists gather that don't have homemade soba noodle shops. Soba is also quite popular as a to-go item at convenience and grocery stores, especially the zaru soba type that's easy to package and doesn't need to be heated. If I had to equate soba to a food in Canada or the US, I want to say it's as ubiquitous as finding a hamburger. They're found in specialty shops, fast food shops, family restaurants, and almost anywhere that serves food. Soba is also easily cooked at home, and zaru soba is a popular summer dish, while the soup version is great in winter. And on the last day of the year, everyone eats toshikoshi soba in order to let go of the past hardships, since soba noodles are easily cut. Cut the noodles, cut the hardships. Soba is a very affordable and quick dish, which I'm sure has contributed to its long-lived popularity. If you eat it at a fast food place, you can get a dish for only 500 yen. But if you go to a specialty restaurant that makes their own, you can expect to pay about double the price, which is still extremely affordable. Keeping the hamburger analogy alive, when I'm hungry, tired, and in a hurry, in Canada, I often cave in and go to McDonald's to get a quick fix. In Japan, it's a fast food soba noodle shop, and my body likes me better afterwards as well. Oh, karaage, one of my favorite forms of chicken. Ako likes it as well, since she made a whole video about it. However, I should clarify that karaage can be deep-fried anything, but if someone in Japan says they want to eat karaage, it's assumed they're talking about the deep-fried chicken version. As we learned with yakitori, chicken wasn't really consumed in large quantities until broilers came over from the US in the 1960s, so it's a relatively recent dish. Although, the act of frying and making karaage, it dates back to the 8th century from China, so it's also a very old technique. So karaage is usually made with chicken thighs that are marinated with garlic, ginger, sake, and soy sauce. Then it's covered in an egg and flour batter and deep fried. It can be a main dish that comes with salad, rice, and miso soup, but it can also be a side dish that goes with almost anything. It's popular at izakayas, parties, bentos, and at home. You can also buy it at specialty shops, usually as a takeout item. And to think of it, a good number of places that sell food also offer karaage. When I asked my wife what special occasion she associates with karaage, undokai, or sports day, was her answer. Parents will bring lunch to eat for the family picnic, and it's a staple item. Out of the deep fried items we've covered, like tonkatsu and tempura, karaage is the easiest one to make at home. Chicken thighs are easy to find anywhere, and they're even pre-cut at the grocery store to the right shape. For cooking, it's also easy to throw it all together in a bowl and then do a few rounds of frying. The two main versions of karaage you'll see are ones made with flour and the other with cornstarch. But I'm told that every family has their own specific recipe, so no karaage is alike, unless you're using the pre-packaged mixes. Since the eating of beef was basically banned until the start of the Meiji period in the 1860s, sukiyaki couldn't be eaten before then. However, there is a report of the shogun receiving marinated beef. Now, the start of the meat-eating culture in Tokyo was with gyunabe, or beef hot pot, and that was basically considered a feast for the common people since they had previously been prohibited from the consumption of meat. Sukiyaki is a dish consisting of beef simmered in a soy sauce, sugar, and sake-based broth with ingredients such as negi, shungiku, and grilled tofu. After cooking, you dip it in raw egg. In the past, sukiyaki was usually only eaten at restaurants, like what we're doing here in Kobe with Kobe beef. This wasn't a popular dish made at home, but a fancy treat. Think job promotion, anniversary, visitors from out of town. But nowadays, you can make it at home, and thin cuts of beef are sold at supermarkets and butcher stores, and Wagyu-producing regions also sell their own great for sukiyaki cuts. Although I should still say that the cuts of beef are top of the line and are not cheap. People at home generally go for a more humble experience eating nabe, which is the Japanese version of hot pot where you can throw any ingredients into a soup broth. While sukiyaki is an expensive dish, it's also a quick to cook one, since you're speedily cooking the thin slices of beef and then immediately eating them. Now this is only my opinion, but if I'm getting nice cuts of meat, I'd rather eat them yakiniku style since I don't want to cover the flavor of expensive wagyu. Or have the chef cook bigger chunks of the meat in front of me, teppanyaki style. We've finally reached one of my favorite Japanese dishes, gyoza. Like many Japanese dishes, its origins come from China. It's said that Japanese soldiers initially ate them during the occupation of Manchuria. And after the war was over, they were nostalgic for the taste and started to make and eat them in Japan. The definition of gyoza is a dough made from flour and cooked by wrapping ingredients in the dough, so it can be made in various shapes and with different ingredients inside. In Japan, the most popular form of gyoza is fried pork gyoza or butayaki gyoza. Inside it will be cabbage, nira, garlic, and ginger. And it can be dipped in a sauce that is soy-based with vinegar and chili oil. Unless you're in Utsunomiya, famous for gyoza, it's not normally a main dish, but more of a side dish to accompany a bowl of ramen or as a snack at an izakaya. You can pick them up at convenience and grocery stores, but you can also make them at home, although it's not something you quickly whip together. My mother-in-law often batch makes them and will freeze them for future use. You can also easily buy frozen gyozas to quickly fry up or boil up at home. Our family uses it as an emergency meal for when we don't know what to do. While fried gyoza is the most popular, you can get it in soup as well. Some gyoza will be fried in a circle shape and it's called wing gyoza. The flour crisps up to create a thin, crunchy base. My sensei made this in our What Japanese Really Eat for Dinner video. Now, as you may have noticed, all the dishes we covered are depicted on this tenugui, a traditional Japanese hand towel that was handmade by Japanese craftspeople both in Tokyo and in Mie-ken. We previously made a whole video about the process, but I did want to highlight a few of the differences this time around. The inspiration was this osechi ryori tenugui. Beautiful, but there are so few shokunin that have the skill to do this, so we had to go with a different method of dyeing. This time we wanted to make it as colorful as possible, so we upped the colors to 5, which also made the dyeing job more difficult. Like last time, we made a batch of 500 of these tenugui. We were also able to dye up another 200 of the previous design, so if you hadn't been able to get your hands on one before, now's your chance. Just check the link in the description. Or simply go to shop.lifewhereimfrom.com. Or just scan the QR code. We can do that now as well for all you people sitting on the couch in front of the TV. And oh yeah, there were 2 food items on the tenugui that we didn't yet mention. Those, of course, were rice and miso soup. While they are usually not the main dish, they are staples and can almost go with any meal. If you have a meal and they say, "Do you want to make it a set?" the set almost always includes rice and miso soup. You can have them with breakfast, with lunch, or with dinner. Rice is additionally popular in onigiri form as it makes a convenient, portable, on-the-go meal that can be eaten anywhere. It's equivalent to the sandwich in the United States and Canada. Rice can also be made into mochi, nihonshu, amazake, crackers, into anything. It's everywhere and the possibilities are endless. As for miso, the paste can be used as a dip for veggies, as a base for ramen soup, as a face mask for softer skin. No, don't do that. But like rice, you'll find miso in so many things. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time. Peace. What are popular foods like where you're from?